And here we are.
All good, all good.
Good.
So, for those who are joining us here, we're going to talk about NEET MDS. There are approximately around 50 days for it to go. And we continuously keep on getting a lot of messages about, sir, I'm stressed. How do I go about it? There's so much portion to complete. So, I have decided to grab my good friend Amir, who's an expert on all these things. He teaches Prosto with his complete heart, and he knows how the entire NEET MBS goes about. If you have not heard him speak one of his topics which he loves, he's a must follow person. He talks with the Meriters app, and he's a person to follow. So Amir, my first question for
Yes.
you is: a lot of people think that should I continue with the same pattern of studies how I was doing entire across the last 1 year, or is there certain change in strategy
Mhm.
I need to have when it's the last 50 days I'm going in and getting into the final push?
All right. So, hi everyone, and a happy new year to all of you. I hope this year brings you what you're wishing for. And coming to the topic of discussion today, and that is 50 days away to this NEET MDS exam. Too much worry, too much fear, too much anxiety. How do we go about it? That's the first thing, the revision protocol. Now, something that we need to keep in mind is your first reading is not same as your revision. So we are not going to come to the first reading and how to start your preparation right now. We will particularly talk about how to focus on the revision. And this revision can get a little dicey. It can put you in a pothole where it's very difficult to come out because you have your own strategies. You have your friends who are telling you do this, do that, but there's nothing that's a template that fits for everyone. You need to tailor make everything for yourself depending on what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. I love prosto, it takes me very less time. I love opath, it takes me very less time to finish. It
You
took
love
me only
OPAT?
3 days to finish. It took me only 3 days to finish. Would you
Wow,
believe that, for my NEET
you're like
preparation?
a surprising few. I'm sure the
So
audience will be jealous of you.
it is unbelievable, but I had to sit with anatomy for like 2 3 weeks on a go, and it's a smaller subject compared to opath. But that was about the first preparation. Now, when you're reading things for the second time, your brain has already registered a few things that it could, because of whatever mnemonics you used or whatever, concepts being clear or facts being easy to understand. But when you're doing your revisions, make sure that you need to set a time frame for each subject. Now, don't overestimate the subject. Don't underestimate the subject. If a subject needs 5 days, you're giving it only 3 days, then you are not doing justice to it. If a subject needs 5 days and you're giving it 8 days, you're wasting time. So you need to balance out these things prior to starting your revision. And especially when you're doing your revision, make sure that whatever you bookmarked, you focus only on that. Don't go back to the textbooks. It's going to be a waste of time. You're just going to lose all your focus. You're going to end up in fear. I'm telling you, do not open textbooks at this point of time. It's a big no. Just look at what you've done before and start from there. Don't start from scratch. If there is an important subject that you've missed out on completely, take 1 week from now and then you start your revision. But you need to start revising now. Now is not the time to start a fresh topic. So that's my first thing to tell you about revision. Now, secondly, if you consider going forward, say 6 weeks are remaining. You have January 3 weeks and February, say, 4 weeks. First March is the exam. In that situation, in 6 weeks, you have, say, 18 to 20 subjects to cover. So that's 3 subjects per week. Now, you
That's a lot.
technically do not have a lot of time, exactly. So you cannot say 5 days for biochemistry. That's going to be, it's just rubbish, right? So you plan your strategy in a way that you have enough time for clinical subjects and enough time for the theoretical basic science subjects, and don't run away from the subjects that you fear, like biochemistry. Okay, I'll do it in the end because I really don't think it works for me very well, but you're just prolonging it, you're procrastinating it, and you're just taking it somewhere, and you're taking it towards the end where you're going to have more anxiety. So just plan on the strategy based on your strengths and weaknesses.
But my question to you is, you told you have to have like 2, 3 days each for each and every subject to be finished in one slot.
Mhm.
You also told do not neglect your subjects you're not good at. So if I'm not good at a particular subject, if it takes me slightly more time? Should I do that for more time and adjust with other subjects? How do I go about that?
So now for revision, the strategy would be different. If you had asked me this question to your fresh preparation, yeah, it would make sense to, have more time for subjects that you are weaker with. But here you have like 3 days per subject or 2 days per subject. How much more can you modify? You set your boundary that I have only 2 days for a subject. Whatever I can achieve in that span of 2 days is it. Then there is no looking back to it, because going forward, you are not going to find more time to come back to that subject. So 2 days is your limit, and then you work on that accordingly. Or 3 days, whatever you've set in your mind that this is what I need to focus in the next 3 days. 3 days and you're done. Then you don't worry about it again, because then if it keeps snowballing, then you are going to be in a weaker spot later. So the
Understood.
days are important.
Uh,
Yeah.
Chetan is asking us, should I focus on theory or MCQs? So I think you've answered it loud and clear. Don't spend a lot of time on
No, no,
textbooks.
no.
Now
Yes.
strategize and focus on your MCQs and focus on that. Now, since he's spoken about MCQs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, do I just randomly go through subjects? Do I solve old papers? The Meritus app has an amazing mock exam pattern. Do I use
Mm-hmm.
that? How do I strategize my exam practice schedule?
Right. So, Meritor's app has another feature, if you are aware of. The students who join in, I'm sure they know that marathon is another concept on Meritor's. It is
It's a
based
really
on
good
3,000
concept.
plus, yes, high yield questions. Now, what does a high yield question mean? It means that it has the probability of, you will see it in the exam most likely. So, if we see the previous 5 years question papers, and we compare it to these marathon questions, which are specifically picked from previous tests or designed in a way, keeping in mind that this concept is important and you can anticipate some questions from here, then these questions are identical to what questions usually appear. So first of all, make sure that you are doing marathon. It's like 3,000 subjects, has all the explanations you need. It has video explanations, etc., etc. So I don't need to talk about that. But you do not need to go back to your basics and fundamentals right now. You need something that pushes you forward and not a step backward. When you're talking of a guided prep, it means that you are going one by one task at a time. That is not what we need right now. We need a boost. We need to crash this prep right now and go forward. So, one thing that you mentioned was the grand mocks. Now, that interface works very well. It's very popular. It's available for everyone. These mocks are 240 questions, just the same pattern, same way that you need to, appear your exams for. The advantage of taking a mock is that it gives you the exact time management idea, which a lot of us do not understand the problem, because 240 questions in 180 minutes is like 45 seconds a question. Some questions are terribly elaborate. I'm telling you, previous year questions, year before that, there have been
Almost
like a
complaining
paragraph
about the
on
time.
case history. It is difficult. You cannot read that question in 45 seconds. Forget answering it. Some questions have a lot of image-based questions. You 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 are so out of focus at that point of time, because there is an image, there is a text, there are options that are confusing you, and it's not easy. I'm telling you to start. But if you have practiced enough prior to your exam, then you know exactly how you're supposed to approach it. So no matter if you are not completely prepared with all your subjects at the time when you're giving mock exams, these mock exams are like every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, depending on whatever the schedule is. So even if you are not prepared for all the subjects, make sure that you give them, because you know how the pattern works. You know how you are supposed to time yourself, how you're supposed to review questions, come back to it, how you can, eliminate options and things like those. Now, my strategy on using this mock would be that if I have to give a mock this Saturday, I will prepare 3 subjects this week. For example, say I have one easy subject that's maybe pathology for me. I will have one okay subject which is important like pharmac, and I will have a clinical subject. So if you have 7 clinical subjects in 6, 7 weeks, you divide one clinical subject, one easy subject, and one theoretical subject. My strategy would be like that, so that I don't, mix up everything. And then at the end of the week, when I'm taking my mock exam, the grand test, the grand mock, I will focus mainly on what I have prepared, because that will tell me whether I'm able to retain or not. I will know my gray areas. I will look at the analysis after my test is over. So we have the result and the analysis feature that really helps to understand what questions were wrong, and it will give you an idea of what needs to be worked upon. So if you reflect on that, and if you come back and focus only on the explanations of what you have done incorrect of the subjects you prepared, you are cumulatively developing that skill over the weeks, right? I hope everyone is with me, guys.
Yes,
Okay. So in case if you are not focused on one subject, then you keep trying again and again with new subjects. So next week when I'm preparing the next three subjects, say I'm preparing microbiology, I'm doing anatomy, and I'm doing endo. So I also need to retain the last three subjects plus the three subjects, and it keeps on adding. So do not neglect the mock exams, because that is something that not everyone will provide, first of all. So make sure that you're using this out of, you should just exploit this option, I feel. Because
For
we did
those
not
of
have this
you who
option,
are just
and I really
joined
feel.
us, if you have not taken the Grand Mock exam, go right now, download the Meriters app. It's an amazing app. It gives you each and every MCQs explained in detail. Certain content of it is absolutely free. You can go and test it out. And mock exams, if you're giving your exams in 50 days, is something you need to rigorously use. Okay.
The mocks
Dr.
are
Amir
free.
here has given an
Yes.
amazing suggestion. Take three subjects a week, keep adding on it, building momentum so that when you're as you give the mock exams, you gain more confidence.
Absolutely.
So my next
Okay.
question to you is about you were talking about time management in between when we are giving these mock exams. Okay.
Correct.
Is there any pattern I need to follow while giving this mock exam so I'm confident about the time management aspect?
Okay, so with these mock exam and time management, firstly appear on your desktop computers when you're giving these exams, because that is going to replicate the actual interface of the exam. If you do it on the phone, it is still okay. Just take them as far as you're taking them. But if you're really keen on understanding how it works, use a desktop, use a laptop, so that you know exactly what you are facing, right? And regarding the time management, now some questions are very straightforward. So I believe that the pattern of these NEET exams is such that 70% area is must know, and then 10-15 areas is a little difficult, and 10-15% is where it's like a test of your patience, actually. So the 70% must know areas should not take a lot of time. You should take nearly 30 seconds per question. There will be straightforward questions, factual questions, this appearance, what radiograph, etc., kind of things. So these questions go very fast. But the questions which will take a lot of time, if you think it's a long question, you don't want to waste your time reading it right now, just review it. Just put it for review. You can come back to it later, right? So if you are just going forward and clicking on uh, the questions that you are sure of, very good, excellent. Keep the ones that you're not sure of. Now, of the 240 questions, say you are attempting 200 questions or 220 questions or whatever number of questions. Now, these questions, the ones that you've not attempted, you can always come back and review. So don't waste time reading the same question again and again and again, because that is one important area where a lot of students come and tell us that we could not attempt the whole paper. That is because you were wasting a lot of time on one question. Don't get stuck on one specific question. Don't just break your head on it. If it's not working out, just move on to the next one. I hope
Understood.
that makes sense.
What
Yeah.
about the negative marking then? You're telling me if I have to answer 200 questions,
Mhm.
how do I take into consideration negative marking on what questions to answer and not?
That is something that I think everyone is worried about, how to attempt, what to attempt, negative marking, yes and no. Now, when you're talking of negative marking, it's -1 for a wrong answer and plus for a correct answer. 240 questions you have. So give or take, if you attempt 220, which you should, ideally 15-20 questions, okay, good to skip out. But don't attempt less than 200 questions, because then you will be out of the rat race. If you want to be on the top of your game, you need to reach the 220 mark for sure. Now, the idea of this, maybe I know 180 questions for sure, and 40 questions I'm still short of. For every five questions, understand this calculation correctly. See, if you have five questions, if you answer one correct, you get +4. If you get four incorrect, you get -4, so that nullifies. This is, I'm talking about the
Got it.
questions you are not sure. Okay. But if you answer out of five, two correct and three incorrect, then you get +8 for the correct and -3 for the incorrect. So you have a +5. So if you have five questions of which two you answer correctly out of your judgment, or maybe 50-50 kind of a situation, and if I have to do 40 questions like those, so 40 into 5 is +200. Do you realize how much can you really boost up your result with that? So make sure that you are first filtering out your questions, because if you are not sure about a question, there is no point taking a guess on it. Don't overthink about a question. Don't think that the examiner might be thinking that if I complicate it like this and then it becomes like this. It's not like that. It's a fundamental question. Your understanding on that is correct. Don't complicate it by thinking that it may also be meaning like this and this question, this explanation, this review. Don't go there. It's 45 seconds. This is your gut feeling. If you think this is correct, just go on. Otherwise, keep it aside. Just filter out the 15, 20 questions you're not sure of. Rest all of them you need to attempt. Don't do too much guesswork. Now that is not something that is recommended. Okay, don't put your result down through the drain because of guesswork. I'm telling you for questions you're not sure, but 220 questions is something that I would really target if I would be appearing this year.
Understood. So for guys who are watching till now, we have covered a few amazing points, like going and giving the grand mock exams, time management schedule from now, starting onwards to your exam, time management during the examination, how many questions to answer, and everything. I want you to put in the comment section below which of these points you found the most amazing ones and which have helped you. Okay. Uh, Among the next 50 days, there's another process, Dr. Amir, of getting the application sorted, getting your hall ticket and everything. Is there a method I can fast track it? Because a lot of people end up spending 2, 3 days doing that, I've seen.
So just yesterday we had the NEET applications for MDMS for medical field. Registrations have started yesterday, and there is this unbelievable kind of anxiety on the Meritus groups currently that when are we going to see this and when are we going to start? It is understood. Okay, we know that we have this kind of a fear of what's going to happen because they keep changing the dates abruptly, right? So technically, till now, what we've seen, they start the process for application nearly 1 month to 40 days prior to the exam. So with the given kind of a time frame, I would anticipate January and January last week where applications would start. As soon as the applications start, everyone is going to rush into the portal and make sure that it crashes down. So
Every
please
year.
do not be in a rush every year, every single year. And then we have all these messages that, oh my God, my application is stuck and this and that. My payment is stuck and this and that. Just wait. It's okay. You are going to fill your form. There is no limit to how many seats these people can provide for attempting the exam, right? They have all the infrastructure necessary. So just keep day one. Just keep sure. Just be prepared that tomorrow is the day when you're going to fill the form. Allot one day. Don't just come back to this portal again and again. I will do this part today, come back tomorrow. You are not studying, you are not filling the form, you are not doing either of them properly. Right. So just ensure that you allocate one specific day once the dates are announced, except for the day when it is announced. Don't rush into it. Do it the second day or the third day. And then keep your documents handy. So you will need thumbprints and photographs and signatures and all these documents to upload your degree, etc., etc. Keep them handy. Go through the specifications. We'll be providing the link shortly to the specifications for how many KB and what should be the pixels and whatever, etc. So keep everything handy and ready in a folder. Once the application starts, you will be required to make an ID and make sure that you save the ID and password in a specific place in your phone, because after 3 months, 4 months, when the counseling is actually going to start, you will really struggle for this. I did, because I did not save it in the right place. We had all these exams at that time, state exams and this exam and that exam. And then it was difficult to keep a track of things. So just make sure that you're saving it in the right place. Come back to it when it's required. And start on the second and third day. Fill in all the details. We will provide you all the details that are required through the links and blog, and we have it on the app as well. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the glitches that happen with payments. So a lot of students have happened to pay twice because the
Oh,
first time they paid, the payment doesn't go through, and then they are in a hurry to finish this off, and they're like, oh, I should just pay again and try for a refund when this is through. So don't do that, because you will not get a refund, first of all. Secondly, if this happens, there is 1 week, 10 days window period to, work it out. Don't be in a rush like that. Just wait for a day, call them up, call the contact information wherever they tell you the help desk, and then figure it out, because the payment goes through, it does not reflect sometimes. So don't be in a hurry with that. It goes very easily. If your documents like ICC and these degree certificates and all are not ready right now, if they are not ready to upload right now, it is okay. You have to provide them at the time of counseling. You don't need them right away. So don't stress about it. It's not something major. It's just like filling a form and nothing else.
understood.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few questions which we can start
Mm-hmm.
taking right now.
Mm-hmm.
One question was, should I revise my books again,
No,
like general
we've
quality?
already covered that earlier. If you've written down notes, yes, of course, you should revise your notes. Don't go back to the whole textbook. For revision, no. For the people who are attempting next year and watching this, yes, absolutely. If you want, you can go back to your textbooks because you must have highlighted in your final year whatever that you need to see. But at this point or at this juncture, no, you are not supposed to open your books unless you find something conflicting that you're reading somewhere and you wish to confirm, or you have some image in mind for an image-based question, or if there is some specific table that you remember very well from your textbook. I do not see a purpose of opening a textbook. You are just going to call for more trouble. You get lost when you open a textbook, right? ये भी पढ़ लेते हैं, let's go through this, let's go through that, and then it doesn't stop.
It's just down the drain hole then.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly you see कि 3 दिन हो गए OPAT के.
Shit. If you open OPAT, I cannot close that book.
There's one question. I am not
Mhm.
able to perform well in the national mock test.
Okay.
Suggestions.
Yeah, that is okay. Now see, as far as you are taking the mocks, that is a plus point for you because you're maybe not seeing the positives. You're seeing the negative of not performing well, but you're not seeing that you are learning time management. You are getting familiar with the interface. You are getting familiar with the kind of questions that keep recurring. You are seeing more variety of questions from all subjects together. So it's putting you in an unfavorable spot right now, which will be favorable for you when you're appearing for the exam. Don't worry about the result, but focus on the analysis of what you are not performing well. If you've done a subject thoroughly and if you're not performing well, then yes, that is a problem. You need to reflect upon what's going wrong with the preparation strategy. It doesn't mean you are not capable of performing well, right? It means that the way you are managing it, the way you are approaching it is kind of not working out in the best favor for you. Maybe because you said you heard that a friend is reading this way, so I will also watch some videos on YouTube and it will work. It doesn't. You find your own positive for preparation and then come back and do it again.
Understood. There's a question. How do should I make notes right now?
For revision, I wouldn't say
Yes,
making notes is, see, making notes can be as elaborate as writing full books and books of 400-page register. Making notes could also mean bookmarking things or highlighting things. If you're using smaller concepts, not wasting too much time on it, just putting down the crux of things, writing in a tabulated flowchart form for your easy understanding and memory, then yes, of course, that is also a part of note making. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going through the whole thing again. But if you are starting from scratch, writing notes, you can imagine how much time you're going to waste with just 2 to 3 days per subject for revision. I'm continuously emphasizing that we are talking about revision and not about starting afresh.
understood. Sir, I'm not getting full confidence even though I have finished each and every subject. I feel like going back to that subject again. How do I stop?
So this is called performance anxiety. This happens before you get married, right? So this is a similar situation here. It is okay. See, if you are prepared, just trust your instinct. Your brain is amazing. The way it functions, you will remember things that you cannot imagine that you would remember because you have a photographic memory or because you can connect to things. You don't need to worry that you are not remembering things because if you try to think, oh, this table, that line, this thing, it is impossible for you to remember. You are not a computer. So it is okay. As far as you are prepared, just keep going forward. Don't think too much about, oh, I'm not doing this, oh, I'm not doing that. It is very normal to feel so at this point of time. It's fatigue. It's because you are tired of putting in so much effort and you're waiting to perform, or maybe you are scared to perform. It could be either way. You are just doubting yourself all the time, but that doesn't help anywhere. See, the more you focus on these thoughts, you are not going to focus on the content that you need to. So I would still suggest that if you have covered everything so far, focus on the revision strategy. Don't focus on what results you are getting right now. You don't know what kind of questions are going to come in the exam. So they could be at your the best of your game. So just focus, go forward. Don't look back right now. Now is not the time to look back and worry. It's the time to go back, go front, and do what you have to do.
Understood. I think this answers the next question also. At this time, I feel completely zero with my preparation.
Mm, that's
Is it
very normal
coincidence?
actually.
Yeah.
It's very normal to feel so. I'm sure 80-90% of the people would be feeling so because it's a human tendency. So don't worry about that.
Understood. Should we have a provisional registration number necessary because our college is not provided us with that as of now?
I think it will be mentioned in the coming application. So once they declare the dates, they also give us the guidelines. In the guidelines, they usually mention whether it is required or not. Provisional registration is required at the time of counseling. Right now, if you do not have that document, you have time enough till the counseling. The rules have not changed so far. I don't expect it to change this year either. So it's okay if you don't have it right now for the registration, but you should have it eventually. Like don't neglect that factor. It's an important document for a counseling process.
Understood. I'm able to take the grant test, but
Mhm.
unable to revisit them. How can I make that work?
Okay, if there is any technical issue, then you can always reach out to the technical help. Just drop a message on the group. I think you will be attended. Usually there are glitches and you can switch on your phone, log out of the app and log in back. I think it works. If there is any other technical issue, just make sure that you reach out to us. We'll get back to you.
Understood. Marathon questions are enough for weak subjects, especially the basic subjects.
Yes, enough for revision right now. Yes, you cannot go back to the whole foundation blocks right now, but yes, you should definitely start with marathon, and then there is final strokes at the end. So again, talking of revision, there are conceptual things and factual things. Make sure that you are focusing more on the conceptual right now. The factual is going to all evaporate. Factual things you should just build up eventually. Read something today, keep revising it over a period of 2-3 days. Don't give 3 hours today and forget about it completely. Do 15 minutes today, do 15 minutes next week on the same content. So your brain is getting trained to that table, that chart, that diagram again and again and again. So if you're doing marathon, it will cover the concepts completely. And then at the end, you have to look at the final strokes. Final strokes we release around 2 weeks before the exam. These are very volatile kind of factual questions, numerical questions. If you go through them at the end of the exam, then it is very convenient for you to remember. Because right now, if you do it, it's not going to make sense. You're going to forget it by the exam comes. Again, the same anxiety seeps in. So yes, do marathon for now and take the mocks and then go ahead and do final strokes. You're done. Good to go.
Could you explain a bit more about final strokes? Because I'm sure most of them know what marathon, but those who are giving their
Yes.
first attempt are not
Okay.
sure about what final strokes is and how can I use it.
Okay. Final strokes is a group of 150, 200 questions per subject, depending on the subject. Now, these questions are specifically factual, numerical, volatile ones, important, but all these, okay? So they are important and they are numerical, they are factual. So we need you to go through them again. Now you may not have bookmarked since the beginning because you were still getting familiar with the app or you were not having that approach. So this is like the crux that you need to know before going the exam. This is the tablet. Keep this. Go vomit it out. It's like that
Okay.
because that is something
So
that you need
all
to
the
mug,
questions we need to
learn.
know at the tip
Yeah,
of the
just
tongue.
they are high yield questions that you need to learn and go, not understand and go.
Understood. Can I attempt the mock test again, which I missed already?
I don't think we have that provision. But going forward, you still have 7, 8 mocks to take. I'm sure you have enough ahead than to look back. You cannot go back in time now. See, that is very unfortunate. So whatever is gone. Now you start here and see what you're going to go and do forward from here. So yeah, you can't do that. I'm sorry.
The next question you've actually answered. How many questions should I attempt? So if you want to be in contention, you have to at least answer somewhere around 220 questions. Only answer the ones which are 50-50. Do not go overboard just guessing around. You're not playing like fastest finger first, A, B, C. The one you're slightly confused, it might be A or it might be C, only goes for those kind of questions.
That
Uh,
strategy is very important, right? Before I miss this point, that eliminating the options. I'm sure everyone does that. When you're guessing a question, when you have two things in mind, and if you're guessing, I don't know why some students think all A's are coming, so let's just mark A. You do you realize this? They're like, it's a pattern. It's A, B, A, B, so it should be B. It doesn't work like that, my friends. Please do not fall in that kind of a trap hole. You need to eliminate your options first. So out of 4 options, there will be obvious two of them which are very incorrect. and they will give you two very identical options in a lot of situations. So try to pick from that. A lot of times I've also seen that some questions keep recurring. That means there is one concept in some other question, an identical question coming on that topic. So that answer you will find in that question. So keep that mind also open. Suppose recently, I think in INI-CET or something, there were so many questions from just vertical dimension and problems with dentures with increased height and lower height. So there was one question which was talking about the problem, the other question was talking about the solution, and the answer was in the other question. So keep an eye open for that. That is also a possibility. You may find answers for your own question in the same set of exam. So just be alert, read carefully. And
Understood.
one more important thing, when you're reviewing your questions, so if you put your questions to review, that means if you want to come back to the question, read it again and answer it again. If you've already answered a question and if you have put it for review, it is going to be counted in your final score. So
Okay.
if you have not attempted, it's not counted. But if you've marked and put it for review, it is counted in the score. So if you are
So this
unsure
is an
about it and
important
you've marked,
point, guys. Please listen to it.
so if you marked a question, the answer, and if you're not sure about it, you want to change it later, but it is marked for review, it will still submit as an answer. If you want to unmark it, you can unmark it before submitting your paper. So keep that in mind.
Understood.
Mm.
There's a question, sir. I'm following only meritors, performing mock tests plus daily tests. I get through this year?
Inshallah, I hope so. That is the whole target, right? That is the whole way we design it because we want you to strategize your plan from day one. So if you are following everything, if you've gone through the content that was provided, I'm I'm very sure that you're going to be in a good spot. So don't worry. See, don't question your capabilities at this point of time. You're not less than anyone else. And I don't see any reason why you should be doubting that whether I'm good enough or not. It's just a lot of peer pressure at this time that seeps in. Everyone's just completed internship. Now everyone is free and they keep talking, मेरा इतना हुआ, मेरा उतना हुआ, तेरा कितना हुआ, तेरा कितना हुआ. So don't just keep a boundary, healthy boundary with things. Share and learn. The more you learn from other people, right now is the time to revision, stay to yourself, of course. But if you have something important that's good enough for everyone, share. It is going to help others grow. Don't be in a spot that I am not going to. If you share one thing, you will get back two things in return. That is what I believe. So learn well, learn together, and don't be in a spot where you're pressurizing your colleagues. Don't peer pressurize your friends. If you're preparing yourself, good, but don't make others feel that they are lesser. It is something that it's very human kind of a humanly feeling, that oh, I have finished so much today, I have to do that much today. It puts other people in pressure. If you know that someone doesn't cope up with pressure, well, don't do it.
And my personal opinion, okay, I might disagree or Amir might disagree with it, is if you are that person where you do not like people telling you how much they studied and you have this tendency to start comparing, just forget the world around you. You can
Hmm.
talk to them casual stuff, ask them not to ask me about my
Of
studies.
course.
You sit in your corner, make your own schedule. The Meriters app has something known as a daily task. I'll ask him more about it, so he'll explain you what it is. Solve your tasks. Make your own pattern of how you want to clear your exams and focus on that. When we get into this game of peer pressure, they might be good at one subject than you. You will entire focus just to that. You will not realize the various subjects which you are better than them as well. So
Mhm.
if you are comfortable with group study in the ends, discussing questions, stick to it. But
No, no.
you have to change this based on your nature.
I am not encouraging group studying right now at this point of time. I'm just saying that because your friends keep telling you on WhatsApp groups and all, just maintain your boundary where you need to.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
No, I'm not saying you're
Don't
saying
sit and chit
you. I'm
chat.
telling. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm telling in general, people have to take based on what suits them.
Obvious.
What is the point about daily tasks? I've seen a lot of people who have cleared NEET through the Americas app telling me, so that was very useful. Could you
Okay.
shed some light on it?
Daily task is not a revision task, first of all. It is something that you can take every day. There is a live test and then there are tasks. So it's not daily task. There is a live test which comes daily. It's topic wise, subject wise. So if you are starting your preparation now for the next year, 2024 exam, daily task is a good thing, but not for
Okay.
revision. It's a free feature that comes for everyone. So you can take the task on the day. When you take it, you know what you performed and you get your answers. Like you know that so and so many answers were correct and so were incorrect. So that is again a free feature. It's for people who are appearing next year, not right now. This is not a revision feature.
Okay.
Then there are guided preps and all that, but that is not for revision. For revision, firstly focus on the crash prep. That is a few filtered questions of the total thousands of questions. Focus on the marathon and then the final strokes.
So for those who are focusing on next year, the daily tasks are useful because this was the feedback I got from a lot of people about the daily tasks. That's why I asked you about it.
Yes. Yes.
What about those of us who started studying late?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of students who are appearing this year only for the feeling of it, for understanding the interface and everything, and maybe they will appear next year because they want to see how they perform this year and how they can strategize for finally for next year. So for people who are just appearing this year and anticipating a good result and have started a few days back or a few weeks back or are going to start now, it is okay. See, you have cleared your final year exam, you've done your clinical work, you have definitely lost some time, but that doesn't mean that you will not get through, or it depends on what your target is. If you want to go to AIMS and Maulana Azad through kind of colleges and prepare only for a month or two, I think it takes a little longer than a month or two. It is not tangible. Set your goals right. But if you think that you can have a seat in a remote college here and there, then it's not difficult to pass. This exam is not difficult to pass. The cutoff usually drops down to very low, and there is always revisions with the cutoff. So attempt this exam with your 100% conviction, even now, if you have the opportunity to. If you're still in 2 minds 50-50 about it, saying that I'm not prepared, this and that, it's okay. Appear. The maximum that will happen is you might have to appear next year, which you are anyways going to appear, right? So give it your good task. Just take the crash prep. It's very simple. It's like few questions per subject, important questions. Do marathon, do mocks, and you're through. See,
Understood.
these questions,
Uh,
we've really sat with these questions for years now. We know how to filter them down to important core topics. So just trust the process. It's not difficult.
Understood. Someone asked a question, how to handle the last 30 days. So we're talking about 50 days. His question is
Mhm.
also how to handle the last 10 days. So any suggestions for the last 2 weeks or
Yes,
10
yes,
days?
important. So last 2 weeks, let's talk about last 2 weeks for now. So last 2 weeks is like one day per subject or maybe less. Only and only think of volatile topics, factual topics. Do not go back to if you are very, very thorough with a subject, suppose if you are excellent with pedo, stop. It's okay. You don't need to focus on that much. Give only half a day to pedo. Just go through the factual questions from the final strokes or whatever you prepared or bookmarked. You may have put something on your pen and paper, right? You know that this is my weak spot. Just address that. Don't overthink. I need to read pulpectomy again, pulpotomy again. I have to do habits again. It doesn't work. You are just going to divert your whole attention. Focus only on the core factual things, on the volatile things in the last 2 weeks. Don't loiter here and there in terms of the context. Don't even think of opening conceptual things at that time. It's all there in your head. I'm sure it stays. So
Understood.
that is for the last 2 weeks. Now the last day is where you are going to not bother too much about the exam. I'm sorry to say this because
Oh, wow.
last day, what happens is everyone is just struggling to, oh, this is remaining, that is remaining. No, please calm down. If you are in pressure, you are not going to perform well the next day. Just eat well, sleep, relax, watch Netflix. That's all. Done. Next day when you wake up, now make sure that you are already reaching the center before time, probably a day prior. The exam may be in the afternoon or morning, whenever it is, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock. You have to reach 2 to 3 hours before time. Make your arrangements beforehand. Stay in close proximity to your center. Carry all the necessary documents. You just need ID proof and your admit card. Do not carry anything else. Don't take your phones and this and book and that, and don't, because if you take all this, there is no arrangement for keeping all these valuable stuff at the center. It may be if the center is good enough, but you don't know. You don't want to lose out on valuables. You just need an ID proof and your admit card. Take that. Eat well, sleep well. Just go stress free. Don't take your books with you at that point of time.
Okay, now this, I really love this advice because this is extremely contra to what a lot of people do. You
I
go
would
to
never
any
carry a
center,
book to my
you see
exam.
a group of 10 people bunching around with one book in hand.
I would
But
never
I
carry.
think
I've
it
never
makes
carried
full
a book
sense.
to any exam. It is something
No,
that
but
I
I think it makes
strongly
full
believe in.
sense.
I strongly feel that last minute reading is only going to add a lot of pressure and you are going to not perform the best because you keep thinking about what you read last, right? You don't have to think about anything other than what is in the question. That should be your goal.
Understood. So it makes a lot of sense because you're just stressing yourself out and you do not get
Absolutely.
into the exam zone. Getting into
Hmm.
that exam zone where I am confident I'm just going to do what I've learned. I've learned it. I've followed the entire Meditors app. I've done the things what is required and I'm ready to go in. So I think that's a really good mindset shift which all of you watching should follow.
Absolutely.
My next question is, can I be able to attend the mock test which I already missed? The answer was no.
Oh, there are more, so don't worry. Even if you've missed, there are a few more coming ahead. Just watch out for those and strategize your plan.
Understood. Sir, during the exam, the main distraction is the computer screen. The width is so big that I have to rotate my eyes like 270-degree, and I happen to lose my concentration on the question. Time
Okay.
taking minutes.
To correct, it should not be a distraction. It should be your only attraction at that point of time. So that is why I advise even Dr. Satish has mentioned this couple of times when we've spoken before that mock exams should be taken on a desktop screen because you get familiar with it. If you're taking it on a phone, then it's difficult for you to, get used to the process. So take all your mocks on desktops. If you have an iPad, I would still suggest that go for a desktop feeling because it is difficult to navigate through. And then people have lost the touch of using a mouse. Can you believe that? Everyone's so touch friendly now that mouse has become obsolete. So yeah, you should simulate that feeling beforehand because it is difficult at the time of exam and it gives you fatigue. Oh my God, screen time gives me visual fatigue that I cannot believe. If I look at screen now, even now, if I'm looking at my screen, I'm feeling so exhausted. Imagine for 3 hours. It is ridiculous what we we can do to ourselves.
Uh, the next question is, which subject should I need to focus on firstly and majorly? Is there any specific subject you want to tell them?
Yes, all.
Keep it 2 to 3 days per
There is,
subject. He's been rambling about
yeah,
it. I take his advice.
coming back seriously to this point, all subjects are important, but you see now there are a lot of subjects that are parallel to each other. So if you see DH, if you see perio, if you see DH and perio, so you have the normal periodontia which is already covered in perio. Then you see the pulp part of it which is already covered in endo. So don't repeat the study process for that. So if you are reading something for pulp, make sure that you read the endo part of it also and finish it off. No need to come back to it again and break your head again on it. If you are doing periodontal ligament, read DH and perio both periodontal ligament. And not, I don't think there will be any difference in the content. Two questions here or there, more or less. So strategize it like that. Suppose, for example, if you are reading path, pharmac, and medicine, all of it is the same game. And then you do OPAT. So half your OPAT is already covered because you covered all of these. And then you do oral medicine, right? So it's all about the strategy and how you kind of find the parallel links. Once you do all of this, your pedo is half done.
Understood. So that's a very good idea. How do you mix and match subjects? This is something
So
all of you
the
watching should
plan,
follow.
if you look at the schedule for the guided prep on Meriters app, it is designed in this way. So when we were planning the guided prep part of this, it was designed in this way so that when you're going to the next subject, you are already in touch with the previous one. So like DMS will have prosto around it, cons around it because it's the common umbrella for both of them.
Understood.
So you can just go through that schedule, it's there, but do not just stick to someone else's schedule. You customize and modify that schedule according to how you like for revision. This is not your primary preparation, I'm emphasizing again. So you customize this as per your needs.
Got it.
Mm.
One tough question for you. You told how to eliminate from 4 to 2 options. Now, how do I get the right one among those 2 options?
Now that is question specific. It's a let me give you an example. Say, can you think of a question? Let's say we are talking about jaw relation. I can think of prosto questions because it comes first to my mind. So if they ask you what is Silverman's closest speaking space used for, So there is orientation jaw relation, there is vertical jaw relation, there is centric jaw relation, and there is remount procedure, for example. So now there are three jaw relations and one remount. So we know that orientation is related to the plane and everything. So that is eliminated. We are talking about something more functional, right? So you eliminate that option. And centric relation is regarding the bite. So you try to mimic what is Silverman's closest speaking space. Try to, perform something if you can. Put yourself in that situation if it's a clinical situation, and then eliminate another option like that. And then if you have two left, then the chances of you going wrong is only 50%. That is what I meant by 50-50 approach. So the obvious options you will understand. So it cannot be it cannot be like this because this is the opposite. There will be options which are completely opposite to what the question says. Like what are the indications of say this drug? And there will be something absolutely rubbish in the options. One of the options will be nothing to do with it. For example, if it's something to do with aspirin, and there will be, say, antiplatelet, and then there will be pain, and there will be anti-inflammatory, all of the above. So all of the above is understood because you know two answers are correct, so it could be one. Because you know two are there, because you know anti-inflammatory and something else, you know that all of the above can be answered, so that's easy. So even if you're not sure about one option, you could still attempt the one option that was there, right? Now, if you have an option where you have antiplatelet and then you have cough and then you have diarrhea, things like those. So we know that it is not used for diarrhea because you use aspirin day to day. So you will eliminate that option. So that is what I wanted to imply with that kind of a question.
Understood. Sir, if I'm left with 2 to 3 subjects, which I completely procrastinated out of stress, should I do it now or should I focus on revision?
You should say set a week now going forward that in 1 week I'm going to attain whatever best I can from that subject. So you do the crash preparation. The crash prep should be available to you. You can just go through the important questions from that subject in the next 1 week and start planning your revision. Don't hold yourself back because you're left with 3 subjects. You may take 3 weeks, 4 weeks going ahead. You don't know. You're going to end up losing a lot of revision time for the subjects that you're prepared with. So what you have prepared is more important than what you've not prepared. So you give yourself, you take a few days and then start your revision. Don't prolong your preparation. Primary preparation, don't prolong it beyond 10th of January.
So you have said 5 to 6 days maximum. You should complete it.
Yeah. Whatever you can achieve in that day. So you put 2 days per subject for primary preparation. Leave the factual ones for now. Do the conceptual things for now. I hope you've not left biochemistry.
Yes. That's a question.
That's a difficult one. Yeah, it's a difficult one.
Should we continue with all questions from the app or Dental Pulse? We have already spoken about twice. Focus on the app because they have found out the maximum high yield questions and put it up there. I've seen around 80 to 90% of questions come from the app. So sticking to it makes it easier rather than doing 2 things right now. This is for revision. If you're starting, maybe the choice is up to you.
See, talking about the books also available for MCQs and all, they are all based on the previous year MCQs or identical concepts, which are already there in the app. Plus, now you need to focus more on image-based and clinical questions, which are not there in the books, right? We've created these questions based on the concepts. So focus on what's new and what's latest rather than what's outdated.
That's a great point out there. Sir, I've been getting more negatives while attending the mock tests.
Okay. So that is because you are not guessing right. you are not eliminating your options correctly. Firstly, prepare your theoretical foundation. It is not because you are not guessing. Guessing comes later. First is your preparation. So maybe you are not adequately prepared. Maybe you are or not confident. So focus on the basics right now. Don't focus on how do I guess better. Focus on how do I work better.
Understood. So what if one is still completing the course? Are you talking about BDS? And this is for those who are going to give their entrance exam within 50
I think
days.
we should have another kind of a session like this for people who are going to appear maybe in 2024. We could think about that, right?
Yes, we can do it because there are a lot of questions related to that. So those of you who are watching it and are planning to give your exam next year, we'll try coming up with one for you guys. So stay tuned for that. Sir, I want to get into Army Corps. What to do in these last 50 days if I have to start my prep now to get a good rank to get into Army Corps?
The Army Corps is a very competitive. It's a competitive intake. You need to be prepared, well versed prior to this point right now. So if you are planning to apply only and only for Army Corps, you need to appear this exam, see how it goes for you. But if you have that, if you have to take it again, don't be hesitant. It's a good aim, it's a good goal, but it's a little late right now. It is achievable, of course. I am not doubting your capabilities by any point, any gesture. You can definitely do amazingly well, but you need to start. So if you start and if it works out, absolutely well. If it doesn't, don't be disappointed. You can apply again and see how it goes, because you need a strategized plan for applying for this kind of an institution.
Understood. Sir, is it possible at least once in a week you will come live to boost our motivation?
Uh, it is possible, but then you will get bored of me, and then
Then they won't be studying, they'll
you,
be sitting and
you
watching
you
Instagram.
you don't want to listen to me every year, every week. I can get very annoying and boring. So don't. I can, but I won't.
And the one thing about Amir is when you see him in a serious sense, he's different, and you should see his jolly good side also.
Yes.
Uh,
I'm different on screen, off screen.
Along with mocks, which MCQ textbooks best to follow? See, if you're giving it in the next 50 days, do not get into the rut of textbooks because you do
Mm,
not have time to start. We will
absolutely.
try coming up with a separate video for those who are going to give it next year, and there we will talk about whether you should get into textbooks and everything. For now, the last moment studies, taking a new textbook, going to start afresh, really doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. For
So
those
I'm
who have missed
preparing.
the previous questions, I'm sure we are going to upload this. So don't worry if you have missed out. I'm sure most of the questions that are coming in the audience are covered. So if they have missed out anything, we can always upload it and they can go through this whole video
Yes.
again. Don't worry.
So all those who missed the chat, do not worry. We're going to upload this video. You can revisit it, share it with your friends. Like how Amir told, if you share it with two people, you'll get four answers right.
Absolutely.
Sir, I'm preparing for the second time. Then also I'm slow with the theory part. Entire day I'm with my notes and not with MCQs. This is
Yeah, that's where the mistake is, I think. Just keep your notes aside for some time and practice on the MC. Focus on the MCQs. This is
yes.
a very serious advice right now because you're too caught up with the whole theoretical part of it that you don't know how to apply it while solving an MCQ. The exam is not only testing your knowledge, it is testing your patience, it is testing your time management, and it is testing the skills that you have to solve this kind of an MCQ, like a question. Some people are good with theoretical questions, they can write pages and pages. Some people are good with MCQs, they can just get the right answer because they have a memory of it. Some people are difficult, it's difficult for a lot of people to master both of them. So you need time to practice. If you are practicing, only then you will be able to focus well on the exam day. You need that kind of practice. So
Is
keep your
there
notes
any
aside.
yeah. Is
Hmm.
there any possibility for postponement of the exam?
Well, unfortunately, they are not including me in these decisions anymore. So I,
I
I
believe
I
what
really don't know, but it is not likely. I don't think it is very likely because the admission process uh, was completed recently in November and December. So it usually takes around 6 months of time for compilation of results and three counseling rounds with a mop up and everything. So it needs 6 months, and because of the COVID, there has already been a delay. They are trying to prepone things by a month, so that it goes back to a good cycle like how it was. So I'm not anticipating any more delays with this because already the MS, MD NEET, the medical NEET has been announced. The dates have come, the forms are out. So I'm not anticipating any more delays.
and I would suggest, why are you thinking about it right now? You have only 50 days. If it postpones, you have another 10 days. We have another session on how to study, use those 10 days, which you get extra. But
Yeah,
currently,
actually,
focus on the 50 days and do what's in your hand.
point. Point to
Uh,
note, everyone, please.
Sir, I can't correlate with the questions in 45 seconds. I can't
Yeah,
understand the
that's
question
why.
45.
That's why you need to take mocks so that you get used to it. So if you take mocks, you are just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and trying to achieve what you are not very good with. So you are not comprehending something. Maybe the language is not making sense. There are some unbelievable grammatical errors in the exam and it will make no sense. So you need to then think whether this means this or this means that. There are such situations also. So you need to start practicing right now so that when this kind of a situation is there in exam, you're prepared for it. That is why we are focusing so much on the mocks. Give mock exams, give mock exams.
Understood. Should we focus just on the marathon or even pro live question papers?
Uh, by now, I think pro life question papers should have been done. For now, focus on marathon. If you have the time, if you're doing very quick, if you are quick with marathon, then maybe you can go to pro life question papers. Pro life
Understood.
question
Could you
papers are
explain what pro
these
live
are
question
recall
papers?
questions. These are recall papers basically. So we have the new recall set also coming in increments. So if there is a new increment coming, you should always look at the previous year's question. There are usually 10-15% questions that are repeated as is in the next exam. So the recent ones go through 2-3 years, past 2-3 years. If you have not gone through already, you were supposed to go through them earlier, but in case if you haven't, you should see those papers. And most of it will also be covered in marathon.
So those of you who are just joining us now, do not forget to download the Meritas app and get a feel of how it works. It makes your life easy to crack the NEET MDS. Sir, could you explain it be better to, sorry, I get this question right. Could it be better to explain from which subject we will revise more near to the exam?
Yeah, so the factual questions and numerical questions. Like if you're good with Pharmac, good. Otherwise, you need a revision at the end. You need more anatomy revision at the end. You need more biochemistry, microbiology, basic science. Basically, all of them you will need a little touch up towards the end. Keep a week for basic science only. General materials with the composition and all that percentage and values. Clinical subjects will not have a lot of facts. They do have, of course, a lot, some facts, but comparatively lesser than the basic sciences. So you should allocate more time towards the end for the factual one, that is the basic science, and conceptual will be done by then.
Understood.
That doesn't mean you neglect the factual questions from the clinical topics. Okay, you have to go through those also, but you will need more time with the basic sciences towards the end.
Perfect.
So, Dr. Satish, Dr. Aamir, sorry to interrupt. I think we are almost out of time.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
If you could just quickly summarize week by week strategy, Dr. Aamir, like how we should go, like how I plan my week, what do I do at the end of the week, and what do I do at the last 10 days?
Oh, of course, yes. So going forward, take the 2-3 days, 4 days to finish whatever is missing that you've left out and you want to complete before you start your revision. From this Saturday, start taking the mocks with whatever you have prepared. Maybe you've not prepared anything this week, just take a mock. Next week, Monday to Friday, Saturday, take three subjects. Like I told you with the strategy, take an easy subject, take a theoretical subject, take a clinical subject. Focus on those three subjects, take the mock next weekend, that is Saturday or Sunday. After taking the mock, you wait for the results, see the analysis, see what you've not done well, particularly about the three subjects that you have focused on. Next week, repeat the same with the next three subjects. Then at the end of that week, you look for the 6 subjects that you prepared in the last 2 weeks. Next week, 9 subjects, then 12, 15, 18, likewise. For the last 2 weeks, you need to focus more on final strokes. That is the theoretical and factual questions. Focus more on the mugging part of it because you've already covered the understanding part of it. Don't worry about the exam. Don't stress about the exam. Just keep your cool. It is okay to be so worried and scared. It is all adrenaline talking right now. Don't worry. Okay? So just hold your horses, go calm to the exam hall and do the best you can.
Oh, that's a really good schedule you have put up there.
It's easy. I don't think it's very difficult. Now, this is my opinion, okay? So, of course, you are free to customize it however you like.
No, but it really makes sense towards the end if you follow this pattern. It would help you get your concepts also clear and focus on the thing which will help you clear the exam.
Absolutely.
So any parting thoughts from Amit for the audience out there?
No, I'm just happy that we could do this in the right time at the right juncture, and I hope people who have viewed this have benefited from this session. It was just to make sure that you are doing the right thing and not worrying too much. And for people who are still stuck with something, I'm sure you will find a way. Don't self-doubt. Okay, if it is meant to be, it will be yours. Don't worry.
Understood. That we end with a philosophical and motivational note. Thanks a lot,
I
Dr.
believe
Ahmed.
that thoroughly.
I know that. Thanks a lot, Dr. Ahmed. And we
Thank you so much,
surely have
Dr.
to catch up
Satish.
because there are a lot of questions about how to start preparation. So maybe in
Mhm.
the coming week or something, we should make have an Instagram live about that as
Yes,
well.
yes. We will just go through the questions that were there and we will just plan another schedule maybe next week or two, whenever it's possible.
Sure.
Let's see what we can do for the next batch too. It
Thank
was
Yeah,
you.
it was
uh,
it was good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you everyone
Same
who's
here.
yeah,
joined.
and if you have further questions, you can comment on this. We'll be posting this live on our Instagram page, so you can comment your questions, and we'll try to answer them offline.
And those who are not
Absolutely.
following me on Instagram, I'm the Toothsmith. Please find my account, follow for Prosper. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye
Thank you,
guys.
Dr.
Bye
Ahmed.
everyone.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Satish.
Thank you, Mohin. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Satish. Have a nice day. Good night for you. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. Thank you.